Welcome to another episode of Technology for Independence with Chris Cooley. Today, Chris is going to be interviewing a disabled vet, and he's going to tell what it's like to live in our world after getting his disability. So stay tuned. Today, we have a special guest on Technology for Independence with Chris Cooley. Chris Cooley has brought to us a disabled veteran who's going to talk about his experiences both before and after he acquired his disability. Chris, it's always a pleasure talking with you.
Patrick, it's great to be here once again. And inviting Jason, I met Jason at the Osborne Cleaners here in Portsmouth, Ohio. And he started doing some, maintenance work for Mr. Osborne with all his rental houses. And getting to know Jason, really lightened my horizon, because knowing that a military, I have a lot of questions. I'm nosy right away, but that kind of helped, me see him every day going up and down to these houses and struggle to be a maintenance man, for Mr. Osborne. And Mr. Mike Osborne gave Jason a chance. And because he gave Jason a chance, it gave me a chance to get to know Jason. And I asked Jason if he would like to come on and talk a little bit about when he went in, and what did he do, how did it affect and cause him to have his disabilities. We need to, know how we can help them and better in their independence. And so I'm going to go over and let Jason, talk about his experience getting in, tell us a little bit about himself, and tell us his story. Jason?
I graduated high school at 17 on June 2nd. I joined the United States Air Force June 7th. The one thing that got me going through PT, because I was in Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, was off in the distance, I could see a McDonald's sign. And that's what got me around every lap. I had to run a mile and a quarter in less than 10 minutes. Now, when they told me they were sending me overseas, I'm not going to lie, I was scared to death. I had to do things that I was told to do that I can't mention, but it caused me to have a little bit of brain trauma, which is accidentally, I fell the other day and split my head open, and it's brought my epilepsy up to a level that's, I used to have one seizure every other day, but I'm having 2 to 3, sometimes 4 seizures a day, and they can't figure out what it is. They think it's brain trauma. But I tell you what, if they'd let me go back, I would go back in a heartbeat. Even disabled, I'd go back in a heartbeat. It'd be hard to leave my wife. Chris, I got a great wife. But I would go back in a heartbeat, serve my country.
So what made you want to go into the Air Force?
My grandfather was a jet engine mechanic. I've actually got his staff sergeant stripes in a plaque on my wall. And I wanted to make him proud. That's why I did it. And like I said, I wanted to serve my country.
How long did you serve?
I got out of PT basic training in about the end of '94. Then they sent me overseas, and in '96, something bad happened, and that's what caused problems up here. And they diagnosed me with PTSD. My back got broke. I'm telling you right now, I'd go back in a heartbeat. I wouldn't think twice about it. My wife would support me. I might have a little bit of a anger issue with thievery. But that's why I walk around this neighborhood every night, Chris. Because I want to protect everybody in this neighborhood. I look at these houses, even though they're not mine, they're my boss's. But you know me. I check on you every day too. But I ain't gonna lie, it's getting harder to walk. The epilepsy's gotten worse. Couldn't work today.
When they diagnosed you with your disability, for what happened overseas, was it easy was it easy for you to get help at first getting out, with your disability?
No. They sent me to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and strapped me to a bed for 3.5 weeks. Literally strapped me to a bed, which was more devastating than anything I've suffered in my life.
I'm guessing that brought back a lot of flashbacks, them tying you down to the bed like that.
Yeah, it did. They said they done it for my good. I wasn't trying to fight them. But being strapped like that was the most horrible experience of my life.
I don't understand why they would strap you in.
They said they done it for my own good because of my seizures.
I see.
But when I have a seizure, all I do is my arms draw up and I shake. I don't swing at nobody. I don't get mad. But when they strap me down, I'm not gonna lie, that's why I won't go to the hospital anymore.
Did you have epilepsy or seizures before you went into the military?
No.
So it is a direct result of the condition that you've had while overseas.
Yes, sir. And I ain't gonna lie, I've been having trouble. I haven't been able to work a few days because I've been having trouble walking. Actually, Chris gave me a cane. They want to do MRI, but they're going to have to knock me out to do it because where I have tremors so bad now, if I'm not still, they can't get a good picture. But I ain't going to lie, I'm scared to go to the hospital. And I don't want strapped down.
I mean, I guess that would be legit fear for any military person, that has, been hurt overseas and happen to go back to the hospital and, flashback coming back to them. I guess it would be really fearful to probably most of the military, you think?
I think anybody that's been in the military would be afraid of that. Being restrained, is more horrible than the things that happened to me in my childhood.
Do you get help from the VA at all?
Yeah. They opened up a new clinic in New Boston, and I got a new doctor. Her name's Dr. Jill, and she takes really good care of me. She calls me almost on a daily basis just to check on me. She was actually on vacation this week, and she called me every day just to check in on me.
What do you think? What do you think with all of your disability is the hardest? You know, being able to be more independent in your life. What is the hardest that you have to struggle with?
My wife having to help me to bed or help me to the bathroom, or because I walk and check on this neighborhood, and sometimes I can't make it. I feel like less of a man. I feel like I'm afraid that I am not going to be able to protect my wife. That scares me to death. I ain't gonna lie, it scares me to death.
So, fear of, not being able to be fully independent and, not being able to get out and do things that you used to do, is hard. Is there any technology, music or anything like that that kind of helps you motivate yourself?
Well, they tried to put me on pain medication, and I wouldn't let them. Won't take it. I've seen what that's done to people, and it's all bad. They tried to put me on like a downer, and I wouldn't let them take it. I wouldn't take it. And I said no. I'll never go on any kind of medication that could cause an addiction. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Every night I drink a glass of bourbon and Coke. It helps with the tremors. It helps me sleep. Is it good for me? Probably not. But believe it or not, at the hospital they said my liver looked great, but my pancreas is in bad shape. When they put me in the hospital last week, because I had 6 seizures in a row and I quit breathing, Misty called the cops or the ambulance. I think you've seen Chris. They strapped me down. I begged them. She begged them not to strap me down. But they had me in a bed for 3.5 days, completely locked down. I can't handle being strapped down. That was scarier than being shot at. And trust me, I was shot at a lot.
Is the PTSD, and you're speaking to someone that has not experienced that, so it's going to be a very ignorant question. Ignorance being I don't know. Is PTSD similar to all people that have that?
If you've had a traumatic experience in your life, something that haunts you upstairs, yes. It don't have to be military. It could be something that happened in your childhood, something that could happen to you when you was married. Mine was military. It don't have to be just getting shot at. It can be somebody beating you up or somebody taking advantage of you. And the PTSD, that's probably the hardest thing I deal with. because I feel guilty for things that I had to do. But I was ordered to do it. That's the hardest part.
And the subsequent seizures and the physical trauma items, is that normal with all PTSD people?
No, that happened whenever I got blowed up. But they said they found water on the back of my brain that's been there since, she said, most likely since I was a child. But there's nothing they can do about it. She said it's probably, Dr. Jill told me it would be a major surgery to remove it. And I don't want to do it. But it doesn't have to be, it could be anything. It could be a parent beating you up. It could be a foster home that treated you horrible, which I lived in a foster home when I was 10 years old that I used to get beat up at. Only problem was it was my caseworker's brother-in-law. And they let their son beat me up if I didn't do what I was told. But PTSD could be from anything. It's not just gunshot related. It can be from a bad experience. It could even be from a car wreck. And it can happen to anybody. But it took them 5 years to diagnose me with it. But when they did, that's when they started, every time I had to go to the hospital, that's when they started strapping me down, which is why I don't want to go to the hospital anymore. I mean, I know I'm sick. Being strapped down is more traumatic than anything that's ever happened in my life. The only reason I go is because I love my wife, and she's the greatest woman in the world. You can ask Chris. She's amazing.
How do people, when people hear that you have been diagnosed PTSD, how do they react? Do they look at you normal,
Different.
strange?
No. They're scared of me. They think that I'm going to freak out and attack them, but I'm not. I'm not a violent person. Am I protective? Yes. I will protect everybody I can. You can ask Chris. I guard this neighborhood every night. But I caught a guy that had broke into a house the other day that my boss owned. And there was a girl in there who was asleep. I tackled him. There's no record of it. The cops let him go. What good is protecting a neighborhood if they're just going to let him go?
So is there any certain sounds, smells that trigger anything, your PTSD?
4th of July. I can't handle 4th of July. Can't handle gunshots. I can't handle loud booms. Sirens. Sirens trigger me off. And if I get too upset, I have a seizure. But 4th of July, I haven't been to the fireworks since 1997. I can't handle the sound.
Yeah.
I had a guy, well, I let off a bunch of firecrackers right beside me. And I'm not gonna lie, I grabbed him and tackled him to the ground because it scared me. I can't handle that sound. I just can't.
So, I see that, you're doing pretty good for yourself so far, living on your own, living in got a house, got a wife, got, family. I see that, you have a great home, and you're, working. Mr. Mike Osborne gave you an opportunity to be a maintenance man. You have a beautiful wife and you have family. So, I see some military folks that have PTSD and other trauma. And is that, by them living out on the street, is that a choice or is that something that, no one wants to take care of, in your opinion?
It goes both ways. I can't go to the store because I can't handle having people behind me. Yes, some military has a choice. They could get housing. Can they afford it? No. Because you know what? I serve my country with all my heart, and I don't make nothing. I struggle every day. But now, if I was a drug addict, went to rehab, I could get a free card for food, a house. But I won't do that. I go to work shaking, Chris. Shaking so bad that I can't even hold it real anymore. You've seen it. And yeah, there is some military guys that are tired of the system and they won't go. Used to, you could go to the VA here in Portsmouth and they would give you a Blackburn or a Kroger's card to get a food and gas voucher. My ex-wife cut mine up. I was broke. I needed food. So I went down there. They said, well, you don't have your card. I said, well, it says it's not guaranteed if you don't have a card that you won't be denied. I said, well, my ex-wife cut my card up. I was denied. I starved for 2 weeks drinking water. The VA system's not getting better. It's getting worse. It really is. There's some good doctors. I got a great doctor in New Boston at the VA, but the service clinics, they just treat us bad. And anytime I go to SOMC or KDMC, they treat me horrible and send me home. It's hard. And it's all because PTSD on my file. I can't help the PTSD. I'm not a violent person. Chris, you know I'm not a violent person.
No. So you would say, the guys that are in the military fighting for our country should be more taken care of in our community.
And veterans that have fought even in Vietnam, they should be taken better care of. There's a reason we fight for this country. Like I said, I'd go back right now. They won't let me, but I would. And I wouldn't think twice about it. And my wife would let me. because I love America. I love the land of the free.
What would you want to tell or let people know about, the military or the veterans?
I encourage every young man and every young woman to sign up and to fight for freedom, the right to speak, and the right to live your own way. And for every veteran, they deserve more money, more than what these rich people get. Because you know what? If it wasn't for us, nobody'd have nothing. I'll die for my country. I'd die today if I had to. I just hope everybody realizes how important freedom is. We're losing our freedom. And we're losing people coming in. We're the land of the free for a reason. And the reason is us. And that's what we need. But I think we deserve more. I'll die for my country. To this day, till the day I die.
I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your story, your insights, your information. I hope that perhaps maybe you would consider coming back on at a later time and talk more. I find your information is really helpful.
Absolutely. Anytime Chris asks, I'll be here.
Okay. Chris, great guest. Thank you very much for bringing him on.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome, sir. You're always welcome. I'll fight for anybody.